In this video, we are going to continue from my previous lecture. So in this video, I'll be doing lectures on energy flow and biogeochemical cycling. I'm just going to be giving a summary of energy flow and biogeochemical cycling. Like we mentioned in the previous video, that the way in which the components of the ecosystem is connected, the functional way in which ecosystem is connected is through energy flow and biogeochemical cycling. That is how matter and nutrients flow from the abiotic to the biotic and back to the abiotic in a cyclical pattern. So what is energy? I would like to define the concept of energy. I know a lot of us, it's not a new term to us. We are out of this time in our O-level physics. Energy can be defined as the capacity to do work. Energy can be defined as the capacity to do work, and actually, living organism can be likened or can be seen as a machine that is actually doing work and requires energy. Either consciously or unconsciously, every living organism is actually carrying out one form of work or the other. If you are sleeping, your brain is working and using glucose. If you are sitting down, your body, your muscles that you use to sit down, they are working and they are actually making use of energy. So energy is defined as the capacity to do work. You concentrating to listen to this lecture, your brain is actually working. You need energy to concentrate. So living organisms, they are like machine that consumes energy. And actually, in an ecosystem, the ultimate source of energy in an ecosystem is the sun. The sunlight is the ultimate source of energy in an ecosystem. In the ecosystem, energy, nutrients, flows in a cycle, and some are lost as heat energy. In the ecosystem, energy flows in a cycle. Energy and nutrients flows in a cyclical pattern, and some energy, they are usually lost in form of heat energy. Hope you get that. Some energy are lost as heat energy. Some energy are lost as heat energy in an ecosystem. Usually from the sun. The sun is the ultimate source of energy. The plants or green plants, which are the autotroph, they are able to convert the sunlight into useful biological molecule. And then this useful biological molecule forms the nutrients that is needed, or we could say form the chemical energy that is needed by other organisms, including the autotroph themselves. The autotrophs use part of the energy for their own physiological function, growth and physiological functions. And also, some other part of the energy that is produced by autotroph is transferred as chemical energy to other organisms, as like the heterotrophs. This is how energy flows in the ecosystem, from the sun to autotrophs. From the autotrophs, some are used by the autotrophs, and then it is then transferred to the heterotrophs. Now, energy flows doesn't stop at the heterotroph. The heterotrophs too utilize some of this energy for basic physiological function, for growth, for movement, and for response to stimulus and other necessary function in heterotrophs. However, energy flow doesn't stop or end with heterotrophs. Heterotrophs also transfer chemical energy back to the abiotic components when they die. When organisms die, either the autotrophs or the heterotrophs, when they die, they transfer chemical energy back to the soil. They transfer chemical energy back to the water. They transfer chemical energy, back to the air, through the process of decomposition. Through the process of decomposition, organisms return energy and nutrients back to the soil. Following this, the cycle does not end there. The dead and decaying matters of plant and animal are also consumed by some organisms such as bacteria and fungi. Bacteria and fungi, they are great decomposers. They are involved in decomposition. They also help to utilize some of the energy stored in the dead body, in the dead remains of animals and plants, and also return this energy back to the abiotic component. They return the energy back to the abiotic component, and then this continue in a cyclical pattern. This flow of energy and nutrients continue in a cyclical pattern. That is what then leads to what we refer to as the biogeochemical cycling. It leads to what we call the biogeochemical cycling. It is called biogeochemical cycling because it involves both living components and the non-living components interacting with each other in a cyclical pattern. That is straightforward. It is called biogeochemical cycling because it involves the living component and the non-living component interacting with each other through the transfer of chemical energy, through the transfer of nutrients in a cyclical pattern. So, biogeochemical cycle. Actually, the sun is also the main source of drive that drives the biogeochemical cycle. The sun is actually the main source of energy that drives this cycle. The sun drives the cycle through driving, let me put it that way, driving the Earth's weather condition, and also it also regulates or controls the Earth's surface climate. Two ways. The sun drives the Earth's weather condition, the Earth's weather system, and regulates the Earth's surface climate. So it is through the weather condition and the climate that the biogeochemical cycling is driven. For instance, temperature, wind speed and direction, evaporation, rainfall, and they are all ultimately dependent on the input of solar energy. If the sun is high, the surface temperature of the Earth will be high. If the sun is low, the surface temperature of the Earth or the aquatic environment will also be low. This way the sun drives the climatic condition. Also, like I mentioned, I said the sun also is the ultimate drive for the weather condition. And linking that, since the sun drives the weather condition and weather condition drives occurrence like erosion and weathering of rocks. The weather condition drives occurrences like erosion, the rate of erosion and weathering. And we know it is through weathering of rocks and minerals that important factors like soil particles, they are usually formed over a long period of time. So ultimately, the solar energy drives the biogeochemical cycle. Quickly, you need to note that in the ecosystem, chemical energy are recycled. You need to note that chemical energy are usually recycled and energy flow through the system. Note that chemical energy in an ecosystem are usually recycled in an ecosystem. However, energy usually flows through the system. So quickly, having said that, I want to give us the unit of energy. Energy is usually measured in joules and kilojoules. Although traditionally the unit of energy is calorie. However, energy can be measured in joules and kilojoules. So, for the purpose of conversion, one joule is equal to 0.239 calories. For the purpose of conversion, one joule is equal to 0.239 calories. That means that one calorie is equal to 4.186 joule.